I'm standing in the doorway of my apartment, staring at my boyfriend, kissing my sister. But here's the thing that made my blood run cold. He called her by my name. "I love you, Emma," he whispered. And she smiled and said, "I love you too, babe." That's when I realized she wasn't just visiting. She had become me. I know that sounds insane. Trust me, I'm still processing it myself. But let me rewind and tell you how my twin sister Olivia managed to steal my entire life for 6 months, while I had no idea was even happening. But real quick, before we dive into this absolute mess, if you're new here, go ahead and hit that subscribe button because this channel is all about wild family drama and crazy revenge stories. Smash that like button if you're ready for this roller coaster and drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. Are you in Texas, Florida, maybe watching from your college dorm in Boston? I want to know. All right, let's get into the story because it is wild. So here's the background. My name is Emma Harrison, and I'm 26 years old. I live in Denver, Colorado. Well, I lived there, but we'll get to that. I have a twin sister named Olivia, and when I say twin, I mean identical twin. Like our own mom couldn't tell us apart when we were kids. Growing up in our suburban neighborhood just outside Chicago, people always thought it was so cool that we were twins. You know, the matching Halloween costumes, finishing each other's sentences, all that cute stuff. But what people didn't see was how different we actually were. I was always the responsible one. I got good grades, went to Colorado State University, graduated with a degree in marketing, got a solid job at a tech startup in Denver. I had my own apartment, paid my bills on time, had a great boyfriend named Jake who I'd been dating for 2 years. My life was normal, stable, maybe even a little boring, but I liked it that way. Olivia, she was the complete opposite. She dropped out of college after one semester, moved back in with our parents in Illinois, and basically bounced from job to job. Waitressing, retail, bartending, nothing ever stuck. Our parents babied her, always making excuses. "She's just figuring herself out," Mom would say. "She's creative. She needs freedom," Dad would add. Meanwhile, I was the one they barely called because I had it all together. But here's what I didn't realize. Olivia resented me for it. She resented my independence, my relationship, my apartment, my job, my life. And she wanted it. All of it. 6 months ago, I got into a car accident. Nothing too serious. A truck ran a red light and T-boned my Honda Civic on my way home from work one evening. I ended up with a broken leg, fractured wrist, and a pretty bad concussion. The doctors said I'd be fine, but I needed to take it easy. My company gave me 6 weeks of medical leave, which honestly I needed because the concussion was no joke. I had headaches, dizziness, memory issues, the whole deal. Jake was amazing during this time. He took time off work to help me, drove me to doctor's appointments, made sure I was eating. My parents wanted to fly out to Colorado to help, but I told them not to worry. "Jake's got me covered," I said. That's when Olivia called. "Hey, Em," she said, sounding unusually sweet. "I heard about the accident. I feel terrible. Why don't I come stay with you for a few weeks? You know, help out around the apartment, keep you company while Jake's at work." I should have said no. I should have. But I was exhausted, in pain, and honestly, having my sister around sounded kind of nice. "That would actually be really helpful," I told her. "Thanks, Liv." She arrived 3 days later with 2 huge suitcases. "Just clothes and stuff to keep me busy," she said with a smile. I didn't think anything of it. At first, everything seemed normal. Olivia was actually being really helpful. She cooked meals, cleaned the apartment, even helped me shower when my wrist cast made it impossible to do alone. She was being the sister I always wished she could be. But then small things started happening. Weird things. I noticed she started dressing like me. I mean, we're twins, so we've always had similar taste, but she was wearing my clothes. "Oh, I hope you don't mind," she'd say. "I spilled coffee in my shirt and grabbed one of yours." Then she started using my perfume, my makeup, styling her hair exactly like mine. "You look just like me," I joked one day. "Well, we are twins," she laughed. But something about the way she said it felt off. Jake noticed it too. "It's kind of freaky how identical you two are," he said one evening after Olivia had answered the door when he came over. "I literally thought you was you for a second." I brushed it off. "That's what happens with identical twins," I said. But then things got weirder. I started noticing Olivia having long conversations with Jake. Like long conversations. In the kitchen while I was resting in bed, on the balcony while I was napping, always laughing, always whispering. "What do you guys talk about so much?" I asked Jake one night. "Oh, just getting to know your sister," he said casually. "She's actually pretty cool." Something in my gut twisted, but I pushed it down. I was being paranoid. They were just getting along. That was a good thing, right? Then I noticed Olivia was asking me a lot of questions about my job, my coworkers, my boss's name, my projects, what I did day to day. "Just curious about your life," she'd say. "We never really talk about this stuff." She also asked about my passwords for Netflix, for Hulu, for my Amazon account. "I want to order some stuff for the apartment," she explained, to help make things easier while you recover. I gave them to her. I gave her my passwords. I'm an idiot. Around week 4, I noticed she was on her laptop constantly, typing, video calls, emails. When I asked what she was doing, she'd say, "Oh, just applying for jobs in Denver. I'm thinking about moving here permanently. Start fresh." I actually thought that was great. My sister, finally getting her life together. God, I was so blind. In week 5 of my recovery, my company called. They needed me to come to Seattle for an important client meeting. It was a huge account, and my boss said it would really help my standing in the company if I could make it. "I don't know if I can travel yet," I told him. "I'm still recovering." "Emma, this is important," he said. "We really need you there." I talked to my doctor, and she cleared me to fly as long as I took it easy. Jake wasn't thrilled about me going, but he understood it was for work. Olivia offered to stay and hold down the fort. "I'll take care of everything," she promised. "You just focus on work." The meeting was scheduled for 3 days. I flew out on a Monday morning, did the presentation on Tuesday, and was supposed to fly back Wednesday evening. But here's where fate intervened. The client was so impressed with the presentation that they wanted to extend meetings for the rest of the week. My boss was thrilled. "Emma, this is huge. Can you stay through Friday?" I didn't want to, but this was my career. I called Jake to let him know. "That's great, babe," he said. But his voice sounded weird, distant. "Is everything okay?" I asked. "Yeah, totally fine. Olivia's been great company. We've been watching movies and stuff." That gut feeling came back, but I ignored it. Again. I called Olivia to let her know I'd be gone longer. "No problem, sis," she said cheerfully. "Take your time. I've got everything under control here." She did. She had everything under control. Now, what I'm about to tell you next is where everything fell apart. But hold on, if you're hooked on this story, do me a favor and hit that like button right now. And if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Trust me, you're gonna want to see how this ends. I finished my meetings in Seattle on Friday and caught an evening flight back to Denver. I was exhausted but excited to get home, sleep in my own bed, and see Jake. I landed around 10 p.m., grabbed an Uber, and headed to my apartment. I texted Jake that I was almost home, but he didn't respond. I figured he was probably asleep. When I got to my building, I noticed the lights were on in my apartment. Good. Olivia was still up. I could thank her for everything, and maybe we could have some wine and catch up. I used my keys to unlock the door, dragged my suitcase inside, and called out, "Liv, I'm home." Silence. Then I heard something. Voices coming from my bedroom. I walked down the hallway, my heart starting to pound. The bedroom door was slightly open. I pushed it further. And that's when I saw them. Jake and Olivia in my bed, kissing. I stood there, frozen, my brain trying to process what I was seeing. But then Jake pulled back, looked at her, and said those words that made my entire world collapse. "I love you, Emma." Emma. He called her Emma. And she, my sister, smiled and said, "I love you too, babe." I must have made a sound because they both turned to look at the doorway. When Jake saw me, his face went white. "Emma?" he said, looking confused. Then he looked at Olivia. "Wait, Emma?" Olivia's face went through about 5 different emotions in 2 seconds. Shock, fear, and then anger. "What are you doing here?" she yelled at me. At me in my apartment. "What am I?" I couldn't even form words. "What are you doing with my boyfriend in my bed?" Jake jumped up. Wait. You're Emma?" "Of course I'm Emma," I screamed. "Who did you think she was?" And that's when it hit him. You could see the realization wash over his face. "Oh my God," he whispered. "Oh my God." The next hour was complete chaos. Jake was having a complete breakdown, pacing my living room, running his hands through his hair. "I thought she was you," he kept saying. "I thought she was you." Olivia just sat on my couch, arms crossed, glaring at me like I was the villain in this situation. I demanded answers, and slowly the truth came out. After I left for Seattle, Olivia had started becoming me. She told Jake that the concussion had affected her personality, made her more fun and spontaneous. She started going to my job. Yes, my actual job, logging into my work laptop with the passwords I'd stupidly given her, attending my Zoom meetings, responding to my emails. My coworkers thought I was just working from home due to my injury. My boss thought I was doing great because I was so responsive and engaged. She went on dates with Jake to our favorite restaurants, using my credit card that I'd left in the apartment for emergencies. She slept with him multiple times, and he thought it was me the entire time. "How could you not tell?" I screamed at Jake. "How could you not know the difference between me and my sister?" "You're identical twins," he yelled back. "She knew everything about you, your favorite foods, your inside jokes, stories from college I'd heard you tell. She had your phone, your passwords, your life. How was I supposed to know?" He had a point, but I was still furious. Then I turned to Olivia. "Why?" I asked, my voice breaking. "Why would you do this to me?" And what she said next will haunt me forever. "Because I was tired of watching you have everything while I had nothing," she said coldly. "I wanted to know what it felt like to be you, to be successful Emma, to be loved Emma, to be perfect Emma." She laughed bitterly. "And you know what? Your life is pretty great. I can see why everyone likes you so much." I kicked them both out that night. Jake begged me to understand, to forgive him, but I couldn't even look at him. Whether he knew it was Olivia or not, he'd still been intimate with my sister in my bed. That was unforgivable. Olivia left without apologizing. She just grabbed her stuff and walked out like she'd done nothing wrong. But here's where the revenge comes in. The next morning, I called my company's HR department. I explained that someone had been impersonating me for the past 2 weeks and accessing company systems. I provided proof. Security footage from my building showing Olivia coming and going, flight records showing I was in Seattle, everything. They launched an investigation. Turns out, Olivia had been accepting projects in my name, attending meetings, even negotiating with clients. The company was furious. They involved their legal team. Olivia was charged with identity theft and fraud. The company pressed charges because she'd signed legal documents in my name. I also called the bank and disputed all the charges she'd made on my credit card. Thousands of dollars in clothes, restaurants, gifts for Jake, all of it reversed. She was hit with credit card fraud charges too. And Jake? I sent screenshots of everything to his family and our mutual friends. Everyone needed to know what kinds of person he really was. Someone who couldn't even tell his girlfriend apart from her sister. He lost friends. His reputation was destroyed. Last I heard, he moved back to his hometown in Michigan, too embarrassed to stay in Denver. As for Olivia, she took a plea deal to avoid jail time, but she's on probation for 2 years, has to pay restitution, and has a criminal record now. Mom and Dad finally stopped making excuses for her. Dad actually called to apologize for enabling her for so long. "We should have set boundaries years ago," he admitted. "We're sorry, Emma." It's been 6 months since all of this happened. I still live in Denver, still work at the same company. Actually, I got a promotion after everything settled down. My bosses respected how I handled the situation. I'm single now, and honestly, I'm okay with that. I'm focusing on therapy, on healing, on rebuilding my life. My life, not the one Olivia tried to steal. I don't talk to Olivia anymore. I blocked her on everything. Some people think I should forgive her because she's family, but you know what? Family doesn't do what she did, period. I learned a huge lesson from all of this. Trust your gut. When something feels off, it probably is. And also, never give anyone all your passwords. I don't care if they're your identical twin. My life is mine again, and nobody, not my sister, not anyone, will ever take that away from me again. So that's my story. Wild, right? If you made it all the way to the end, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this crazy family drama, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a story. Smash that like button and let me know in the comments, what would you have done if your sibling tried to steal your life? Would you have pressed charges or tried to forgive them? I really want to know. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.